Developing right now on Morning News Now, a rare rebuke of President Trump on Capitol Hill. House lawmakers, including Republicans, passing a measure to end the war with Iran. The symbolic move just hours after an Iranian strike against U.S. ally Kuwait. But President Trump insists, once again, a peace deal could be just days away.
The negotiation itself has gone very well, actually. Very well.
Mr. President,
it could happen. I mean, if it happens, and it might not happen, who knows? But if it happens, it could happen like over the weekend.
We will bring you an update as the political and military tensions grow. New overnight controversial pick. President Trump set to nominate acting Attorney General Todd Blanche for the permanent position, putting his past investigations back into the spotlight. Also back in the spotlight, former Congressman George Santos, this time over allegations of insider trading on online bets. We will have the latest from Washington. Developing news out of California, a gunman opening fire after a high school graduation ceremony, killing at least one person. Plus, disturbing new details about the suspect who was killed after a 15-hour hostage situation in Bakersfield. What we're learning from police about his criminal history. And you could call it a mid-career crisis. Nearly a quarter of working professionals in the U.S. say they've hit a plateau 10 years into their career. We're going to look at the trend and get some tips on how to break through that invisible barrier. Morning, good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off today. We begin this hour with the war in Iran. President Trump says a deal could happen this weekend, but on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are sending their own message about the conflict. In a rare rebuke of President Trump, 4 House Republicans sided with Democrats yesterday to approve an Iran war powers resolution. It's a largely symbolic measure directing the president to stop hostilities with Iran unless Congress approves military action. This resolution is the latest sign of the growing rift between Republicans in the White House. As President Trump once again talks up the possibility of an Iranian peace deal, the State Department says Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a new ceasefire in their conflict. NBC News Washington reporter Alice Barr joins us with the very latest. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. And the push for a peace deal may have gotten an important boost after that U.S. State Department announcement of a new ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon. Iran has said an end to the fighting in Lebanon was central to any broader agreement. This morning, dramatic new images of the Iranian strike on an international airport in U.S. ally Kuwait that killed one person and highlighted the fragile state of the U.S.-Iran ceasefire. That after the U.S. military said it shot down Iranian drones near the Strait of Hormuz and attacked a military installation on an island. Despite the rising tensions, President Trump says a peace deal could come soon.
If it happens, and it might not happen, who knows? But if it happens, it could happen like over the weekend.
Iran's top diplomat said no progress had been made in negotiations, but that communication with the U.S. was not cut off after Iranian state media reported Tehran would suspend talks over Israel's growing attacks against Iran-backed militants in Lebanon. Now, Lebanon and Israel agreeing to a new ceasefire, according to a joint statement with the U.S. State Department following negotiations in Washington. While on Capitol Hill, the House passed a resolution directing President Trump to stop the war unless Congress gives its approval. 4 Republicans joined all Democrats in the vote that, while symbolic, offered a rare rebuke.
Congress alone declares war. That's something that we have to be, certainly protective of.
Elsewhere in Washington, President Trump touting renovations for the America 250 celebrations, from restoring the iconic reflecting pool outside the Lincoln Memorial.
It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be American flag blue.
To the makeshift UFC arena over the White House South Lawn for a match on the president's birthday, June 14th, to plans for a massive arch up for discussion at a planning commission today, amid complaints it will block views of Arlington National Cemetery. Back on Capitol Hill, that House-passed resolution aiming to end the Iran war now heads to the Senate, which had already advanced its own similar measure last month but didn't hold a final vote. Even if either version were to pass both chambers, President Trump still has his veto power. The White House has dismissed any congressional effort to limit his war powers as unconstitutional. Joe.
Allison, we're learning really key to all this is what happens between Israel and Lebanon. So what more can you tell us about the ceasefire between them?
Yeah, the State Department outlined plans to have Lebanese forces control so-called pilot zones in southern Lebanon, where they'd have to ensure that all Iran-backed Hezbollah militants evacuate. In return, Israeli forces would withdraw. The Israeli ambassador to the U.S. told reporters this deal has to mean an end to Hezbollah moving back in after past similar agreements. And just now, this morning, the Lebanese president said this is the last chance for a comprehensive ceasefire, and each party would bear the responsibility if it's broken. Joe. All
right, Alice Barr in Washington, thank you so much. NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach joins us now with more on all this. Gary, good morning. Good to have you with us. It has been a rocky week for the president's agenda. We know his so-called anti-weaponization fund was abandoned. Now several Republicans have joined ranks with Democrats to advance this war powers resolution. The vote has failed many times since the war began. So what's different now?
Yeah, 4 Republicans voting for this war powers resolution. It's a largely symbolic resolution, as Alice was talking about. This could go to the Senate, but even if the Senate does end up passing it, it'll have to come back to the House before it actually ends up going to the president's desk at all. And of course, the president could certainly veto this if possible. But the White House is downplaying this vote by the House of Representatives, saying it was simply just a matter of several Republicans being absent from the House yesterday and not participating in this vote. But this does speak to the larger issue here of Republicans getting fed up with the president as it relates to him doing things without their congressional authority.
Gary, one staunch defender of the president and his agenda has been the acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche. President Trump now says he will be formally nominated as Attorney General later today. We know Blanche stepped into the role after Pam Bondi was fired in April. He also once served as the president's personal defense attorney. So what does the Justice Department look like under his leadership in this brief window so far? And in this political environment, is there any danger of him not getting confirmed by the Senate?
Yeah, over the past couple months, we've seen a bit of an arms race between him and Jeanine Pirro and Harmeet Dillon, other people that potentially were up for this top job. But as Todd Blanche made clear in an interview recently, this is President Trump's Justice Department, and he's going to take cues from the president as to what is going to get done at the DOJ. And we've seen a ton get done over the past 2 months, like it or not. Blanche has stood up a fraud enforcement division. He's done that whole weaponization fund that ended up getting shot down. He's indicted James Comey over an Instagram photo. He has indicted the Southern Poverty Law Center, and he has indicted Raul Castro down in Cuba. So a lot got done by Todd Blanche, and the president seems quite pleased with what he's done.
Gary, before we let you go, we want to talk about somewhat of a bizarre exchange on Capitol Hill yesterday over President Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence. His name is Bill Pulte. It would appear he maybe had a little disagreement with the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who was then questioned yesterday by Republican Senator Thom Tillis.
Did you actually tell Pulte you were going to punch him in the face?
No, sir. I actually said I was going to kick his ass.
Good. Okay. Good. I share the emotion. Thank you.
And as I said, that was last summer, summer 25, and many teams have fights in the locker room and then go out and win for the team on the field.
So, Gary, that's one way of pointing out that Pulte is considered a rather controversial pick for this role. He has no intelligence experience. What's the story here?
So this goes back to some reporting from last summer that indicated the Treasury Secretary and the head of the Federal Housing Agency really got into it at the White House during a private dinner. Bessent there confirming it, and because it's a federal crime to lie to Congress, he told the truth about what he actually said during that. But I think this all goes back to the larger issue of some of the president's more experienced cabinet members, people with actual financial experience, getting upset with folks that come in and think they can just try to investigate folks for mortgage fraud, which is what Bill Pulte has done, just investigating several of the president's alleged perceived enemies for mortgage fraud, all of which have failed. Joe?
All right, Gary Grumbach, thank you so much. The Justice Department charged a U.S.-Iranian businessman with conspiring to violate sanctions against Iran. The tech CEO was arrested in California on accusations he sent U.S. technology to Iran's military. NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell has that story.
A posh Southern California gated enclave, the scene of an arrest as law enforcement surrounded a $35 million Newport Beach mansion, taking a 63-year-old CEO, U.S. citizen with ties to Iran, into custody on charges he conspired to violate sanctions law. Federal prosecutors say Jamshid Gomi engaged in a complex scheme to supply U.S. technology to Iran's Atomic Energy Organization in violation of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. In a dense 100-page criminal complaint, an IRS investigator writes that the suspect actively operated and managed illegal business operations. His sales valued at more than $10 million a year. His clientele included hundreds of Iranian companies and government entities. The criminal complaint alleges he laundered the proceeds of his illegal business into the United States, including high-priced real estate. While the U.S. has been engaged in military conflict with Iran for more than 3 months, that international crisis serves as a noteworthy backdrop for a probe that actually goes back years. The criminal complaint says that for more than a decade, Gomi used his company to procure large quantities of U.S. networking equipment for customers in Iran. In Santa Ana, California, Gomi made an initial court appearance. No plea was entered. And beyond the arrest, authorities have been conducting a court-approved search of his property.
All right, Kelly, thank you. Staying in California, millions of ballots are still being counted this morning for several key primary races. The governor's race remains still too early to call. Trump-endorsed Republican candidate Steve Hilton and Democrat Javier Becerra currently lead the race. It has become the most expensive governor's race in American history. Candidates are looking to replace Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, who has maxed out how long he can serve. And in the Los Angeles mayor's race, reality TV star Spencer Pratt still holding on to second place ahead of Democratic City Councilwoman Nithya Raman. The contest will decide who will face the city's current leader, Democratic Mayor Karen Bass, in a runoff election this fall. So far, less than 60% of the votes have been counted statewide. That means it could be days before we get results in these tight races. Of course, we'll continue to bring you the latest numbers as we get them. Disgraced former Republican Congressman George Santos is now at the center of a new controversy. According to 2 NBC News sources, the online prediction website Kalshi sent a criminal referral about possible insider trading to the Justice Department. This is regarding alleged bets that Santos made on its platform. It's all centered around a bet that Santos allegedly made on his own potential appearance at this year's State of the Union address. We should note this referral does not mean there is a criminal investigation underway by the Justice Department, and it's unclear if a formal investigation has been opened. Santos said on social media that his legal team is in contact with the DOJ, adding, quote, "The basis of the accusation is preposterous, and I look forward to supplying any information asked of me to any agency that inquires." NBC News senior justice reporter Ryan Riley joins me now with more on this. Ryan, good morning. So in a social media post, Santos said hundreds of reporters have been calling him. He asked them to basically stop doing that. Kalshi declined to comment on its referral. So walk me through the details and why did the platform seemingly report him?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, Kalshi has an interest in making sure that their market isn't being manipulated here, right? So I think that we've seen instances before where there have been, publications or promotions of these sort of referrals or this notion that there's a federal investigation going on. And I think, there were 2 letters in here, one to the Justice Department and one to this other commission. And so it's unclear, at this point, how exactly this is going to move forward. But if you look at this sort of big picture and take a step back, this is someone who was pardoned by Donald Trump, mere months ago. And so given his influence over the Justice Department these days, you've got to question and wonder whether or not that's something that anyone would be willing to open on, given the backlash that you might receive from the White House here. And given how, Todd Blanche, who now has received the nomination, has really pushed forward cases that go against the president's enemies, not typically the president's allies.
So, Ryan, have we heard anything from the DOJ since Kalshi reported Santos?
Yeah, typically they're not supposed to really comment on these ongoing investigations. We've gotten indications that there's not really a full investigation opened at this point. And so I think that's sort of where things stand. That's not to say something couldn't be in the future, but right now it's essentially a letter. And, the Justice Department, as you pointed out there, doesn't just open up an investigation based upon a letter alone. And so there's another comparator case here that obviously involves the Maduro raid, where there's classified information involved. And so you could draw a distinction between between that and say, hey, they've gone after these sort of related or somewhat comparative cases in the past. But of course, that case involved, classified information and a government employee. So it's on a much higher level than you're talking about, a former congressman who was not using government information. It's just a different sort of case. So theoretically, they could just allow this to sort of take that administrative route and not become a full criminal investigation.
Yeah. Is there a sense that a formal investigation could be launched?
Yeah, it depends upon what they're sort of going to do here, right? I mean, they could theoretically open this, but I think if you put yourself in the shoes of a career federal prosecutor, you're probably going to want sign off from the upper echelons of the Justice Department for going after someone who's associated with Donald Trump. That's a good way to get yourself in trouble.
According to one of our NBC sources, I know Kalshi also reported Santos to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Tell us why that agency, what could be potential outcomes there?
Yeah, so I think that's probably where we're likely to see action, because there's some, degree of independence, and it's not necessarily, the criminal pursuit that would go through the Justice Department there. I think that's probably where we're likely to see an actual inquiry go forward. But just given, the overall view of what the Justice Department is up to these days, it's probably good to be skeptical of the notion that they would move forward with a full investigation of someone who's so closely affiliated with Donald Trump.
All right, Ryan Riley. Ryan, thank you so much. In California, a high school graduation turned deadly when a gunman opened fire after the ceremony last night. Police say an 18-year-old was killed and 3 others were wounded in the shooting at Fairfield High School, that's southwest of Sacramento. The youngest of the shooting victims was 11 years old. The victims are being treated at hospitals. Their conditions are unknown at this time. The graduation ceremony was actually for Semieto High School, which shares a campus with Fairfield High. A suspect has not yet been identified. We're also learning new details this morning about that terrifying hostage situation in Bakersfield, California. An FBI sharpshooter shot and killed the suspect after a lengthy standoff. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson has the latest details.
A harrowing 15-hour crisis. This man strapping explosives to himself, spouting demands to authorities while keeping multiple hostages tied, terrorized, and held captive. Authorities say the suspect, 41-year-old Anthony Scott Searles Harris, was shot and killed at the scene by an FBI strike team. No one else was hurt, including all hostages inside.
The advisor is a male subject inside the bank with a bomb strapped to his chest.
Police called to the scene Tuesday afternoon when authorities say Searles Harris stormed an office building in downtown Bakersfield that also houses a bank, claiming to have an explosive device, barricading himself on the second floor, where he took 10 employees from the Kern County Superintendent of Schools as hostages. Some had additional explosives attached to them, according to law enforcement.
He's demanding an FBI negotiator. We still have no entry. We're talking through the glass.
5 of those hostages were tied up, officials say. Video taken during the crisis shows 2 people inside that building. Crisis negotiators able to secure the release of 2 hostages during the day.
The first being at 3:59 p.m. and the second being at 8:24 p.m.
But as the night went on, the suspect became more erratic, and knowing one of the hostages was diabetic, they were running out of time. That's when the FBI sent in their strike team. Authorities say Searles Harris was an Army veteran, dishonorably discharged in the mid-2000s for going AWOL, and is a registered sex offender.
He was no stranger to law enforcement and has a criminal history of using weapons to commit violent offenses.
And authorities still working to determine a motive. Officials do not believe the people inside that office were intentionally targeted. But take a look around here. You can see the scene still being processed. They're still searching for a motive for what turned out to be an incredibly difficult experience for the folks who were held captive. Send it back to you.
All right, Steve, thank you. This morning, we're keeping an eye on the possibility for some severe weather. So let's get some details with meteorologist Andrea Romero. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Joe. And these June storms really don't want to let up. They continue to impact the middle of the country with showers and storms that are developing here, with supercells likely later today into the evening hours. And this weather will continue to move on into parts of the Great Lakes tomorrow as a cold front sets up in this this region, with scattered severe storms possible into the night in the Midwest for tomorrow evening. So this activity will continue. The main precipitation event will probably be here, where locally up to 4 inches of rainfall is possible. We're talking about areas of Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and even here parts of Missouri can get into that heavy rainfall, with flood watches already up for this area stretching from Des Moines all the way up to Manhattan, Concordia, where we do have flash flood warnings this morning for parts of north central Kansas. Now, we are expecting this flash flood risk to continue today, extending all the way from Texas up into the Dakotas, especially in this area where we're expecting the possibility of some severe weather with hourly rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. And of course, that damaging hail, 2 inches in diameter, that's egg-sized hail, wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. And of course, we can't rule out the possibility of a tornado or two also developing. Now, this threat will shift on eastward into tomorrow. 5 million people will be at risk, and we're looking at the possibility of severe weather even into the Great Lakes. Now, the next big story, of course, is the warm air that's expanding all the way from California into Maine. We're looking at above average temperatures in the northern tier of the country into the northeast tomorrow. Most areas from Syracuse, New York, Norfolk, they'll be in the 90s. Even Detroit will be in the 90s. So that's temperatures around like 15 degrees above average through Saturday. Potential record heat in those major cities that we're seeing there. Newark, we're talking about maybe Poughkeepsie, Bridgeport, all the way down into Virginia. So the heat will be on for the next couple of days. The Gulf storms will also be impacting parts of Texas into Louisiana, with that severe weather in the Midwest into tomorrow. And then Saturday, of course, some more activity will be shifting eastward, and we could even have some rain on Sunday along the northeast.
Got it. But for those who complained about weather, rain on weekends in the past, they're not allowed to complain about heat on weekends this
Absolutely
weekend, right?
not. You can't have it both ways.
I agree. You don't like the rain, you're going to get the heat. All right,
Yes.
Andrea, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Questions are still swirling about the future of one of the most honored news programs on TV. Veteran 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley was fired by the show's new executive producer on Tuesday, one day after a tense meeting. Now only 3 correspondents remain, leaving some to wonder if they plan to stay or leave. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has the latest.
I'm Scott Pelley.
Longtime 60-Minute veteran correspondent Scott Pelley is firing back after being fired by CBS. Pelley saying CBS executives are lying about why he was let go from one of the top-rated shows in America. The longtime CBS reporter had blasted the new top producer of 60 Minutes and CBS News leadership in a staff-wide meeting, saying they are murdering the storied newscast. Pelley then met with top executives, including the network's controversial editor-in-chief, Barry Weiss, who said that despite attempts to engage with him, they weren't able to find a way back after she says he broke the newsroom's foundation of trust and mutual respect. Pelley also accusing management of wreaking havoc on the show and instructing him to inject falsehoods and bias into a politically sensitive story. As parent company Paramount Skydance's $110 billion merger with Warner Brothers Discovery awaits regulatory approval from the Trump administration. The ticking clock of 60 Minutes has been around for 58 years and near the top of the ratings for decades.
What we're really looking at is 60 Minutes, gold standard of journalism, most popular news program in America for over half a century, fundamentally being completely redone, rethought, restructured.
Barry Weiss, founder of a conservative-leaning website, was brought into the network to change things up. She cleaned house at 60 Minutes, getting rid of the show's top producers. And with 4 full-time correspondents recently out, only 3 remain, including the legendary Leslie Stahl, who is yet to speak publicly about the chaos at her show. Aaron McLaughlin, NBC News.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, baby bust gone global. The renewed concerns as another developed country reports a rapid decline in birth rate. Up first after the break, the growing protests overseas over a luxury resort linked to President Trump's son-in-law. We'll be right back. We are back with developing news out of Albania, where protests are growing over a luxury resort linked to President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter joins us now to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Molly, good morning.
I will do my best, Joe. Good morning. So that's right. There are thousands of people hitting the streets in Tirana, Albania. Yesterday was the third straight day of protests against a luxury resort backed by President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. One of the major complaints is the potential environmental damage. And so we're expecting to see more protests at the construction site where they have already broken ground down south. Now, moving to North Korea, there are new pictures showing North Korean leader Kim Jong-un inspecting a new nuclear plant yesterday, Joe. He said North Korea plans to beef up the state's nuclear forces at a, quote, exponential rate. That is according to state media. And finally, to France, another museum theft. No, not the Louvre, but a thief in need of a snack, it would seem, at a museum in Metz in eastern France. The controversial but highly recognizable piece of work, I think you will remember this. It's called Comedian by Italian artist Maurizio Cattelan, was stolen, or at least part of it was stolen. The museum said the banana was taken and said, quote, the perishable component of the work has been replaced and the work has been restored to its original presentation as quickly as possible. Joe?
How would they know if they found the thing that had been stolen? Like, they'd be
right.
like,
Is
oh,
there a
that's clearly
serial
it.
number on the banana? Like, I don't know. I'll ask about the tracking.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate that. Thanks, Molly. Sticking with international news, Japan is joining a growing list of developed nations where the fertility rate is shrinking. New data shows the country's birth rate is declining at an alarming rate. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez takes a look at what this could mean for Japan's future.
One of the oldest societies in the world now struggling to stay young. Japan's fertility rate falling to a record low in 2025, according to new government data, dropping for the 10th year in a row. With about 670,000 new babies last year, compared to 1.5 million deaths. The country's population isn't replacing itself. The Prime Minister saying recently the crisis is her top priority. Some researchers warning that if things don't change, its population could be cut in half by the end of the century. Japan's rapid aging is profoundly changing its economy and society. The market for adult diapers now bigger than for baby diapers, multiple companies told Reuters 2 years ago. Many seniors live alone and struggle to access full-time care. Thousands end up in jail. In 2024, those over 65 made up more than 30% of all female inmates. The majority of them caught for petty theft, according to government statistics. This trend, bubbling for decades in Japan, may be a sign of things to come around the world. Almost all countries in Europe and much of South America now have fertility rates too low to keep their populations steady. Even China seeing a years-long population decline. All getting the attention of the world's richest man, Elon Musk, part of a growing pro-natalist movement.
I think for most countries, they should view the birth rate as the single biggest problem that needs to solve.
The U.S. fertility rate also falling to an all-time low in 2025, with less than half of adults under 30 saying having children is important to them. Jaded for a host of reasons, including concerns about the environment, something we've covered.
We're not sure that we're going to have kids because we don't want to bring our kids into a world like this.
It's part of why the Trump administration is making a big push for Americans to have more children.
I want more babies in the United States of America.
Planning to give money directly to newborns in so-called Trump accounts, launching next month. But experts have told us, as we've covered this trend, that economic incentives don't always move the needle.
Nobody dislikes getting money, but it's not usually enough to kind of budge people to have kids when they wouldn't otherwise have them.
Japan has tried implementing similar solutions, to no avail. The government there saying it only has a few years before its declining birth rate becomes unstoppable. A troubling forecast that could have ripple effects across the globe.
Raf Sanchez, thank you so much. The same study from The Lancet referenced in Raf's story also found the U.S. population is expected to remain steady. Even though the American birth rate is falling, there's an expectation that people will continue to immigrate here. Coming up, a desperate plea from a father for his teenage son.
I still think of him as a sweet boy, even though he's 15 and, at this point bigger than I am. I need to keep him alive.
When we return, how his search for a stem cell donor could also help others in need. Our Dr. Sayal is here with that story next. You're watching Morning News Now. We're back now with the story of a father desperately working to save his son's life. The 15-year-old boy was diagnosed with a rare blood disease. Now his dad's rallying call to find a stem cell donor is going viral, racking up millions of views on TikTok. NBC News medical reporter Dr. Akshay Sayal joins us now with the latest on this search for a perfect match. Dr. Sayal, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. You know, every year, 23,000 people in the U.S. undergo a stem cell transplant, but it's not always a perfect match. I spoke to one family who is urging more people to sign up to save not just their son, but others as well.
He's the kind of kid who lights up a room. But for the last month, Max Uribe has been spending his time inside a New York City hospital room.
He's going to be in the hospital for 6 weeks. They're going to wipe out his immune system in order to try and rebuild it. And he's going to basically be put through hell.
Max has been battling a rare blood cell disorder called clonal cytopenia, a condition that causes low blood counts in the body. His dad, Juan Uribe, has spent months hoping to find a cure for Max.
And I had never been on social media, but that's what caused me to get on TikTok and Instagram and begin posting about this. And I'm posting this because I need your help to save my son.
His plea amassing more than 45 million views on TikTok, looking to find the perfect stem cell donor, what they call a 10 out of 10, for his 15-year-old son.
The odds are very slim of finding a 10 out of 10 for someone with my son's genetic makeup.
Max is of mixed heritage. His dad is 100% Colombian and his mom is Caucasian. And experts say finding a perfect match can be incredibly difficult, especially for patients from underrepresented ethnic backgrounds.
If you're of a Caucasian background, there's probably a 75 to 80% chance that we'll be able to find a match. Patients who are Hispanic, we think that goes down to about 50%. Black or African-American patients, then we're down closer to 30%.
As the video went more viral, have you seen that translated to more swabs being done?
It's been remarkable. And the number of people that we've been able to get to register is the most that they've ever seen in such a short period of time.
According to the National Marrow Donor Program, within the first 24 hours of Juan's initial post, more than 12,000 people registered to donate stem cells. Max's fathers say they decided to undergo a transplant with a partial match.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time.
But that less than perfect match means the odds of his body rejecting it are higher. Whether the treatment works for Max or not, the Uribes hope that more people continue to register.
The kit is very simple. It contains some barcodes and it contains some swab kits. You put it all in the envelope and you send it back.
And if you are a match, it could save a life with a simple blood donation. Every year in the U.S., there are at least 23,000 stem cell transplants performed. Right now, every swab, every new donor represents hope for Max and his family.
I still think of him as a sweet boy, even though he's 15 and, at this point bigger than I am. I need to keep him alive. I need to keep him alive.
And Dr. Sayal, you brought a swab kit with you today to show us how it works, how simple it really can be, right?
How simple it is and how easy it is to save a life, Joe. So this is the swab kit from the NMDP. This is the National Marrow Donor Program. You open it up here. It comes with some swabs like this you can see on your screen. And there's two sort of places here to put the swab. You do it inside of the cheek, each side, Joe, for 10 seconds. And you put it in, and here's the best part, my favorite part. They actually give you the postage stamp for people like me who have no idea how to mail things still. It's quite easy.
And it has a little swab on them. I wonder if they sell those at the post office, too. And what's noteworthy is it's in your cheek. We're so used to sticking those things up our nose, but even easier, you don't even have to do that. What would disqualify someone from being able to be a donor?
There's a whole host of conditions that make you ineligible to donate stem cells, and the list is on the NMDP website. We've pulled a few on your screen there. Most autoimmune disorders, things like lupus, for example, would disqualify you. Diabetes, uncontrolled on insulin. If you are well controlled, that is different. If you have severe liver disease, hepatitis, cirrhosis, anything like that, and if you are pregnant, you can't donate. There's a few more on there, but most of those things, there's a lot of qualifiers around. So if you are interested, please look into it. It is so easy, as we just showed you, and it literally could save a life.
I have to imagine with tens of millions of people seeing this video, that's got to up the number of people who are checking to see if they can donate, and that's got to help a bunch of people, not just that man's son.
Can you believe it? 12,000 signups in the first 24 hours after that video.
All right, Dr. Sayal, thank you so much. Appreciate
Anytime.
it. Coming up, Gen Z closing the gender gap when it comes to home ownership.
Generations of young women are feeling very confident not having to wait to be partnered to purchase the biggest financial transaction of their life.
Up next, a look at the shift in who is buying homes, how they're buying them, and what it could tell us about the future of real estate in America. Plus, millions of American workers facing a mid-career challenge. A look at why so many people say they've hit a plateau, what you can do to avoid that. This is Morning News Now. We are back with a new trend in the housing market, giving young people reason for hope. For years, we've been talking about the high prices and mortgage rates that are keeping many people from buying a home. Well, despite those hurdles, some young people are managing to do it, and new data shows single Gen Z women are leading the way, becoming home buyers nearly 2 times faster than their male peers. NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal explains.
I just bought a house.
I just bought a house. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I bought a house.
Buying a home in your early 20s? For a growing number of Gen Z women, the American dream is now a reality. New data showing a slight uptick in homeownership compared to the year before among Gen Z, aka the age group between 18 and 26.
I was 22 years old when I bought my first property.
And of those young buyers, more than a third are single women, according to the National Association of Realtors. That's nearly double the share of single Gen Z men.
I'm 23 years old. I've been out of college for a little over a year.
Mariah Berry recently bought a 2-bedroom home in Charleston, Tennessee. To get her there, she spent a year working 3 jobs and building up her savings.
It was really stressful. I did practice a budget. Sure, I had less material things and didn't go out as much, but I was still living a very full life.
Many Americans have been shut out of the housing market, with the median sales price now more than $400,000 in the U.S. And first-time homebuyers, they make up a record low share of the market, while Gen Z still only accounts for about 4% of all home purchases. Still, experts say young adults are getting creative to make it work.
They're taking advantage of low down payment programs. They're moving in with family.
Some methods include tapping into 401k retirement accounts, which financial experts say has pros and cons, or selling off stocks and crypto investments.
For young home buyers to come into this market, they have to be savvy.
But for many women, the decision to buy is more than just finances.
Generations of young women are feeling very confident not having to wait to be partnered to purchase the biggest financial transaction of their life.
And in a market that's left many would-be buyers on the sidelines, Gen Z women are finding a way to open the door. Allie Canal, NBC News.
A new report highlights an invisible career challenge that affects millions of white-collar American workers. It says nearly a quarter of professionals hit a plateau about 10 years into their careers. Their responsibilities flatten and the chance for a raise or promotion stalls. And this new research finds this is not just an individual issue, but a system-wide problem. It's caused by a disconnect between the real-world experience of employees and the actual needs of some of the companies. Angie Kamath is here to break it down for us. She's co-author of this report. It's called Sidetrack: The Hidden Crisis in Mid-Career Mobility. Oh, yeah, she's also dean of the NYU School of Professional Studies. Good to have you with us. This is so eye-opening and I think important to delve into. It's the first large-scale analysis digging into what happens at this point in someone's career. I mean, just walk us through some of the highlights of what you found.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joe. Pleasure to be here. So if there are so many subtitles to this report. I mean, some of them could be navigating modern careers. Another one could be having a choice-filled life. But as we think about what the report says, it's essentially that this is a very large and predictable and preventable scenario. And what we mean by that is that it affects every career. It's not a person's fault. It's not a career choice. It's not training. It's just structurally, there are jobs that have a ceiling. And you can either bump your head up against that ceiling continuously, or you can move to the left, move to the right, add some skills to be able to kind of start to navigate up that ladder. Another really important piece of the report is that we have to think about skills, and it's not kind of amassing more degrees, but as we think about it, I was just speaking last night to an admissions officer, reading, accepting and rejecting young people in schools. She transitioned. That's the exact same skills that you need in HR.
Okay.
And she realized that she needed data analytics because what you do in a school environment is different from what you do in a corporate environment. So that's what we mean. There's not a problem with people, but there really is an opportunity for employers to think about this and know about it, for nonprofits, for higher ed, and for people If you knew that you had a health problem, if you knew that you had a risk of heart disease in your family, you'd take blood pressure pills.
Right.
You'd prevent it. You'd do those small steps. You wouldn't wait for the heart attack. And so what this report really says in plain English is this is known and preventable across many, many fields. And the antidote, that blood pressure pill, is skills in kind of small doses at different points in your career.
Let's delve into the antidote here in a moment. But first, I do want to talk about the fact that people are experiencing this plateau. It's different across industry sectors by gender and race. Talk about more about what's causing that.
Sure. So I would say across industries, there is this notion, and we've always heard the statistics that people will have 4 to 5 careers. They will have 12 to 13 jobs, right? There's kind of a lot of statistics around that. It affects so many different careers because different kind of industries are touched by technology differently. They're touched by geography. They're touched by global, the nature of the workforce and globalization. They're touched by supply chain. And so I would say that no industry is immune from that, whether you're in healthcare or manufacturing or finance or utilities. And so I would say that what's really important for us to think about and why this is so prevalent is people often accept it and they think, because you hear a lot of this, which is it's who you know, and you can navigate careers if you are, putting in more hours, or if you are currying favor with the boss, or you're thinking about, and that's actually not how it works. It's about skills, and so the preventable side of this is really thinking about what you need. So if you're in real estate, let's say, great career opportunity. Technology is just changing how people look and get their information. So think about real estate. If you love being around houses and homes and apartments and showing them, you need to know a little bit more about technology. If you're a warehouse worker, you're not just physically moving the kind of packages. You might have to think about programming a robot. Yeah. If you work in finance, stockbrokers used to be the it job. And then really when we started getting much more kind of into e-trading, you need to understand a little bit more about technology. So again, I'm not at all saying everyone should become a technologist.
No, right.
I'm not at all saying I'm very much an AI enthusiast to kind of help people do their jobs quicker. But there is an eye-opening. Knowledge is power, and we have to help people understand that they will hit a ceiling, and skills is a way to kind of move out of that kind of bumping up against
we have about a minute here, but is the advice similar or different for someone who maybe has not gotten to this plateau yet and you want to prepare them so that they don't hit it versus the person who feels like they're in it right now?
So great point. And so what we see is if you're hitting the first, second, third job, you're kind of less than 10 years out, let's say, from being in the workforce. If you're just not hitting that job that's exciting to you, you need to move on. It's not going to get better. For the person who's in it, it's about skills. And I think from a skills perspective, look to your employer for professional development, look to local colleges and universities, look to local nonprofits. Skills are abundant. Just go on the internet, look at Coursera or Udacity. There is a proliferation of ways to get skills. So don't wait for it. Don't wait for something to happen to you, whether you're early in your career or middle of your career. We all know when we are energized by getting up in the morning and going to work, and we know when we are dreading it.
Yes.
If you have that feeling of dread, whether you're early or mid-career, do something about it.
That is amazing advice. Angie Kama, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. All right, we're now 1 week away from the start of the World Cup, and as we've been reporting, high ticket prices mean many fans just can't watch their favorite teams in person. But this week, one elementary school soccer team got a once-in-a-lifetime surprise. NBC News correspondent Chloe Malas has that story.
Find a new gate, Victoria.
For one youth soccer team in Queens, the road to the World Cup started in a school gym.
Because of a very special mommy that did something for us. Every single one of you is going to a World Cup game! Look!
Tickets for each child to attend the World Cup match between Norway and Senegal later this month. The surprise coming after Wing Yi Sang, one of the players' moms, nominated the team for StubHub's Access New York program, which gives free live event tickets to kids.
I was very emotional, and I just was so happy for them.
The principal of PS 171Q says more than 90% of the school faces economic hardships.
They should have these experiences that others have. Like, why can't they have these experiences? They deserve it.
Many of the kids could hardly believe it.
Can you describe to me your emotions right now?
I'm excited and happy
I've never went to the World Cup, and I've watched it every year since I was 2.
A little team from Queens
Is going to World Cup game!
now headed to one of the world's biggest games.
We're going to the World Cup!
Chloe Malas, NBC News, New York.
Good for them. What an amazing opportunity. All right, coming up, let's keep the sports theme going. Knicks fans waking up to orange and blue skies after last night's big road win over the Spurs in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. But can the Knicks keep the momentum going for the rest of the series? Or will Wemby and the Spurs get their revenge in Game 2? We're going to run it back and relive the glory next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. If you were in New York City last night and felt the ground shake, that was simply the collective force of Knicks fans jumping for joy during the NBA Finals. At watch parties across the boroughs, fans were in a frenzy after the Knicks beat the San Antonio Spurs on the road 105-95 in Game 1. The Spurs led by as many as 14 points in the third quarter, but the Knicks stormed back, went on to score 11 unanswered points to end the game. Just in case you've lost track at home, the scalding hot Knicks have now won 12 games in a row this postseason. NBC News sports editor and writer Tim Rowan joins us now for all the latest on the finals. Tim, good morning. We appreciate it because I'm guessing you're up a little late last night. So this Knicks team 7-1 on the road during this playoff run. Yet again, they came back to win after they were down by double digits. I went to bed last night early in the third quarter. The Spurs were up. So give us the highlights and just how this sets up the rest of the series.
Yeah, I mean, the highlights were 2 words, Jalen Brunson. It was an ugly game. Both teams, neither team really shot great from the field. It was tied with about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then with about just more than 2 minutes left in the fourth, the Spurs were up by 1. And that's when Brunson hit a couple of amazing shots. He hit a corner three-pointer to give the Knicks the lead. And then with under a minute left, he hits a falling down jumper, mid-range jumper, to put the Knicks up 6. And from there, the game was essentially over. So Brunson, he had an up and down night. He appeared to suffer knee and ankle injuries in the first half. He was not shooting great from the field, but he kept shooting. And he proved again why he's such a clutch player there in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he's known as Captain Clutch for the team. I mean, understandably, we have talked a lot about Victor Wembanyama, and how much he means to the team. But seeing what Jalen Brunson did last night, kept coming back for more after getting hurt. How important is he going to be moving forward if the Knicks do want to win this series?
Yeah, I mean, he's the straw that stirs the drink. He's their primary ball handler. He's the guy who has the ball in clutch moments. He's going to be huge. And, Karl Anthony Towns had a great game. OG Anunoby had a great game. The kind of supporting cast really stepped up, and they're going to need that. But, the Knicks go as Brunson goes. And so, but I can only imagine when the series shifts to New York, he's going to elevate his game even more. And tonight he didn't, last night he didn't truly have it, and they still won. So that's a great sign for New York.
You mentioned poor shooting. I mean, the Spurs shot just 36% from the field the entire game. What do they need to do to get on track and even up the series?
Like you just said, they need to shoot the ball better. I mean, Victor Wembanyama struggled from the field. De'Aaron Fox struggled from the field. There wasn't really a Spur who had a great shooting night other than Dylan Harper, their 20-year-old rookie off the bench, who basically gave them the lead in the first half. So, for them, it's as simple as execute the offense and shoot better, and maybe find some more playing time for Dylan Harper, this rookie who's not afraid of this stage.
Game 2 also going to be in San Antonio. That's happening tomorrow night, Friday night. So before the series comes to a roaring MSG crowd that has been waiting a few weeks now for this moment, will no doubt be revved up. How much would you say this is a must-win for the Spurs tomorrow night?
100%. It's definitely a must-win game. I mean, when this series shifts to Madison Square Garden, it's going to be really tough. This is a young San Antonio team. I was actually at the game earlier this year between the Knicks and the Spurs at the Garden, and the Spurs came out and laid an egg. When young teams go on the road, I think it's tougher for the role players to step up. So I think it's going to be very tough for the Spurs to win at the Garden. So they need to win Game 2 at home. Otherwise, this could be a quick series. We'll see. But yeah, no, this Game 2 becomes very, very important for the Spurs, especially with now that the Knicks have won home court advantage by taking Game 1.
We only have 20 seconds left here, but can you put 12 playoff wins in a row into perspective for us here?
It's historic. I mean, the Knicks are not only, this was a close game, but the previous 11, they were dominating their opponents. I mean, this is, if they pull this off, this is an all-time great team, which is remarkable considering these are the New York Knicks.
All right, more to come. Tim Rowan, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. It's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but stay with us. The news continues right now. Good morning, I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off today. Right now on Morning News Now, taking a stand. The House rebuking President Trump over the war with Iran, passing a measure to end the conflict with 4 Republicans voting with Democrats. The vote coming hours after Iranian drones struck and damaged an airport in Kuwait. That blast leaving 1 person dead and injuring dozens more. President Trump yesterday insisting again a deal with Iran could come soon. So where does the conflict go from here? We'll bring you the latest in just a moment. More fallout this morning after the firing of longtime 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley at CBS News. The dismissal now leading to a very public back and forth about leadership at the network, as well as growing questions about the news magazine's future. The latest ahead on this ongoing drama. First strike, the New York Knicks' hot streak continues. A come-from-behind win over the San Antonio Spurs in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, stealing home court advantage. Bring you the highlights and hear from excited fans who now look ahead to that pivotal Game 2 on Friday night. And Traveling Table. I'm going to be talking to the creator of the Emmy-winning Netflix series Chef's Table, a show that has revolutionized how we watch food on TV for the past decade. He's going to be telling me why he's now bringing the show to life at a special in-person event. Let's begin this hour in the Middle East, where President Trump says a deal with Iran could happen this weekend, though he has made similar claims of a deal being close before. Talks had stalled in recent weeks, in part because of Iran's opposition to Israel's expanded invasion of Lebanon. Well, this morning, Israel carried out more strikes on southern Lebanon, which they say targeted Hezbollah, and said its troops would remain there. That's despite Israel agreeing to a new ceasefire with Lebanon yesterday in Washington. All of this comes as House lawmakers, including 4 Republicans, voted to approve a largely symbolic resolution to end the war with Iran unless Congress authorizes more military action. NBC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel has the latest from Tel Aviv. Richard, good morning.
President Trump continues to insist that negotiations are progressing, and there was some diplomatic movement with Lebanon, but it's unclear if it will make any difference on the ground. But this new move from the House and opinion polls suggest more Americans are growing tired of this war.
The concurrent resolution is adopted.
There were cheers in the House of Representatives after 4 Republicans joined Democrats to pass a resolution to stop the war on Iran. It's preliminary and non-binding, but a strong rebuke of the war President Trump launched with Israel without congressional approval. A war that continues to escalate, even with a ceasefire in place. A new video overnight shows the moment an Iranian drone hit Kuwait's main airport yesterday, exploding at a terminal, killing 1 and injuring dozens. It was Iran's response to a recent American strike on Iranian territory. President Trump in the Oval yesterday said a deal with Iran could come soon and downplayed Iran's continued control of the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before the war.
The negotiation itself has gone very well, actually. Very well.
Mr. President.
It could happen. I mean, if it happens, and it might not happen, who knows? But if it happens, it could happen like over the weekend.
He said the near daily exchanges of fire between the U.S. and Iran and attacks on American allies in the Gulf are normal.
I'd say in that part of the world, ceasefires when you're shooting in a more moderate manner.
With questions about Israel's next move, Prime Minister Netanyahu acknowledged he recently had a tough phone call with Trump, but says they remain close, while he threatened to resume major combat operations against Iran.
It's the president's decision. Israel is ready and the U.S. forces are ready. I think Iran should take that into account.
But there was one glimmer of diplomatic progress about Lebanon. The Lebanese government and Israel agreed to renew their ceasefire. But the agreement did not include Hezbollah, the group fighting Israel.
so it's unclear if the deal will have much impact on the battlefield. While Hezbollah has said it will commit to this new ceasefire, it also says it retains the right to attack Israeli forces as long as they are inside Lebanon. And Israel says it has no intention of pulling its troops out of Lebanon.
All right, Richard, thank you. NBC News legal analyst Angela Senadella joins us now with more on the War Powers Resolution. Angela, good morning. So this vote is considered largely symbolic gesture from Congress, as we keep mentioning. But why is that? What does the law say about the ability of Congress to force a president to try and withdraw troops?
Good morning, Joe. Yeah, so there's been this massive historical fight in this country between the president and Congress over who has what say over military action, because obviously we know that the president is the commander in chief. However, according to the Constitution, it is only Congress who has the power, the authority to declare war. And so that tension has long existed. Now, in 1973, this War Powers Resolution Act was passed. But what happened, and that was meant for Congress to limit the president, but presidents historically have just ignored it. And there has been this tension that's continued and no resolution. So similarly, if this were to fully pass, then guess what? The president would likely still continue to ignore it.
Let's look at history. Congress attempted to force President Trump to withdraw troops twice in his first term. He vetoed the resolution both times. Has any president ever been forced by a court to withdraw troops?
No, and this is so interesting because usually, right, when two of the three branches of government are fighting, the president and Congress, well, then the courts will have a say. But as lawsuits have been brought, the courts have decided not to intervene, largely for political reasons, deciding that this is a fight that should stay in the political realm and not in the judicial realm. So there really hasn't been any teeth to these fights or any enforcement mechanism from the courts to withdraw troops, Joe.
The resolution is now going to go to the Senate for a vote. If it does pass there, then just what do we think is likely to happen next?
Well, like it's happened in the past, and the president would have the possibility, the authority to veto. And in the case that he did, then Congress would have a very high bar in order to veto the veto, which is really unlikely, Joe.
All right, Angela Senadella, good to have you with us to walk us through this. Thank you so much. A planning commission is scheduled to meet in Washington today to discuss that massive arch that President Trump wants built in the city. The structure he's calling a triumphal arch is expected to be twice the size of the Lincoln Memorial. Some critics are concerned it will block views of nearby landmarks, including Arlington National Cemetery. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us with the details. Gabe, good morning.
Joe, good morning. The president, who of course was a real estate mogul before entering politics, has visibly lit up recently when talking about some of his projects around D.C. Next up, the iconic reflecting pool on the National Mall and that new arch that could tower over the city.
They just had this done. You're getting a first glimpse.
President Trump touting the progress on the restoration of the reflecting pool outside the Lincoln Memorial, comparing its size to iconic skyscrapers.
And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be American flag blue. It's the color we picked. And I think it'll be something amazing.
The developer-in-chief trying to make his mark on the nation's capital, from adding his name to the Kennedy Center, which a federal judge blocked, to construction of a new White House ballroom, which faced rare opposition from Senate Republicans over its proposed $1 billion price tag for security upgrades. The administration also renovating the Rose Garden, adding a patio, and cleaning up D.C. fountains.
So we have many monuments and fountains all over Washington, and we're just about completed with all of them.
Today, the National Capital Planning Commission is scheduled to discuss the president's plan for what he calls a triumphal arch. The 250-foot structure would be more than twice as high as the Lincoln Memorial. The president wants it to be bigger than the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, but a veterans group is suing to stop construction, arguing it would block the view of nearby landmarks.
This is a monstrosity that will loom over Arlington Cemetery.
Currently looming over the White House, another massive structure, a makeshift arena towering over the South Lawn for a UFC match on June 14th, the president's birthday, celebrating America's 250th anniversary. The president posting a video highlighting the structure and referencing the building of the Eiffel Tower.
They said, you know, we sort of like it. Let's leave it up a little bit longer. We're building something in front of the White House that's quite attractive to a lot of people. And I'm looking at it, and maybe we'll never, ever take it down.
overnight about some breaking news overnight about President Trump's pick to be his permanent attorney general. What can you tell us?
Yes, Joe, after what amounted to be a 2-month audition, President Trump now says that he'll nominate his acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, for the permanent role. Blanche had previously been the president's personal lawyer and then deputy to Attorney General Pam Bondi, whom the president fired in April. And since then, Blanche has notably investigated several of the president's perceived political enemies, and he now faces an uphill confirmation battle in an increasingly skeptical Senate. Joe?
All right, Gabe, thank you so much. California is still counting ballots this morning in several key primary races. In the race for governor, former Fox News host Steve Hilton, who has President Trump's backing, and Democrat Javier Becerra currently lead the pack. But with millions of ballots left to count, that race is still too early to call. Another closely watched contest in the state is the L.A. mayor's race, where reality TV's Spencer Pratt is hoping to face off against the city's current leader, Karen Bass, in a runoff this fall. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz joins us with the latest. Liz, good morning.
Well, hey there. So far, only about 55% of all the votes have been counted here in California, meaning it could potentially be days until we get results in many of these tight races. Here in L.A., the county is working around the clock counting ballots. And while Spencer Pratt is currently holding on to a second place finish, experts tell us it is still possible that that could change.
This morning, a major election cliffhanger in California, where several key primary races are still too close to call, including California's race for governor and the closely watched Los Angeles mayoral race, where reality TV star Spencer Pratt is hoping to face off against the city's current Democratic leader, Karen Bass.
I'm going to prove to everybody this is for real, and I'm ready to run the city.
Pratt, a political outsider who decided to run after losing his home in the Palisades fire, is currently in second place, ahead of Democratic City Councilwoman Nithya Raman. But despite predicting he'll advance to the November runoff Tuesday night, California Republican strategist Rob Stutzman says the hundreds of thousands of votes still uncounted could lead to a progressive surge.
I think that is in play significantly, that Raman could overtake Pratt.
If this is a Bass-Pratt runoff, what should we expect?
I think if it's Bass and Pratt, it gets to be an ugly summer. It'll be Pratt summer, if you will.
We're inside LA's ballot processing center. You can see the thousands of ballots that are still being counted here. The state's vote by mail system is why it can take so long for all of the ballots to arrive here, and in tight races then a winner to be announced.
Statewide, it also remains to be seen who will face off in the race to replace Governor Gavin Newsom. Conservative commentator Steve Hilton.
It does look as if change is coming to California.
And former Biden cabinet member Javier Becerra.
November, here we come.
Appear to be holding their leads and heading to a Republican-Democrat matchup in this heavily blue state.
I don't expect there to be any changes. We should expect Becerra to be measuring curtains for the governor's office. This is California, after all.
But again, it is not over yet. There are still lots of votes to be counted, and many of those are vote by mail ballots, which often lean more Democratic. Here in LA, it could take several more days for the mayor's race to be called. In fact, in the last mayoral race, it took 8 days for the city's current leader, Karen Bass, to be announced as the winner. Back to you.
All right, Liz, thank you. The high-profile dismissal of 60 Minutes veteran Scott Pelley is sparking a fierce back and forth between him and CBS News leadership. It's raising questions about the program's future and what's next for the network. NBC News correspondent Erin McLaughlin is here with the latest on the fallout. Erin, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. More drama at the network, with Pelley not pulling punches, this time accusing network leadership of not telling the truth. While CBS editor-in-chief Barry Weiss says Pelley broke the newsroom's foundation of trust and mutual respect. This morning, turmoil at an American institution, with questions over the future of 60 Minutes and larger tension at CBS News. As the war of words continues between veteran correspondent Scott Pelley and CBS News editor-in-chief Barry Weiss. Weiss defending Pelley's abrupt firing in an editorial call yesterday, saying, despite our attempts to engage with Scott Pelley and to find a way back, unfortunately, we weren't able to do so, and so we had to part ways. Adding, we did not want that to happen, but that's the path he chose. Pelley firing back, saying in a statement, no CBS executive at any time suggested a way back. To say so now is disingenuous. and they know it. Despite the tensions at the network last night, CBS Evening News anchor Tony DeCopel, who was appointed by Weiss, reflecting on Pelley's influence.
He believed freedom of the press, to quote Madison, was the right that guaranteed all the others. Scott, from all of us, thank you.
Many of Weiss's changes at the network have been controversial, particularly the overhaul at 60 Minutes. All coming as her boss, tech billionaire David Ellison, whose company Paramount owns CBS, pushes a $110 billion merger with Warner Brothers Discovery, a deal that needs approval from the Trump administration. Former longtime 60 Minutes correspondent Steve Kroft sounding off on the staff changes at the show.
This is journalistic interference. It makes no business sense whatsoever. I think it was a slap in the face to everybody who has worked there over a long period of time.
Pelley writing yesterday that he was stonewalled and shown the door after grilling management about the purge.
3, 2, 1.
Following the network's firings of correspondents Cecilia Vega and Sharon Alfonsi, along with the show's top producers. Alfonsi weighing in online, anyone still wondering whether 60 Minutes is over can stop wondering. All three correspondents pushed out have accused CBS leadership of editorial interference. Allegations the network has previously said are not based in reality. 60 Minutes is on a summer hiatus with shows expected back in September. We reached out to CBS News for comment on Pelley's latest statement, but they did not respond.
And of course, the big question now, people are wondering, could there be any more changes or any more high-profile correspondents stepping away?
Yeah, so many questions outstanding. The fact of the matter is last season they had 7 full-time correspondents. They are now down to 3, including Leslie Stahl and Bill Whitaker. No word from them publicly anyway, reacting to this sort of shakeup. Also no word on what their plans are going forward.
All right, Aaron, thanks for the update. Appreciate it. Going to check now on your morning news now weather. Andrea Romero is here with the forecast. Andrea, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. And we continue to track that severe weather that's impacting parts of the plains. It's going to be moving into the Midwest as well into tomorrow. In fact, this morning we're looking at this line of strong storms extending here between Dodge City and Concordia. This area right now is under flood watch, and we even have some flash flood warnings here just west of Concordia in parts of Kansas. So the severe weather will continue to threaten this area. We are looking also at the risk of flash flooding that's extending all the way from Texas up into the Dakotas. We are looking at the possibility of hourly rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour that can cause that flash flooding in that area and can lead to accumulations between today and tomorrow of locally up to 4 inches. So that's a lot of rain that's going to be falling in that location. And of course, we have that storm, those storm hazards that we're going to be looking out for, damaging hail over 2 inches in diameter, wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour, and a tornado is possible in this area right here where the slight risk of severe weather will continue throughout this afternoon. And if we look at the storms, will continue to move on eastward. Today, we're looking at the possibility of supercells that could develop late day and evening. And then tomorrow, the front will be setting up here across the Great Lakes. And we can even see some scattered storms into the night into the Midwest. So we're going to be continue to track this severe threat that's going to be affecting tomorrow over 5 million people that will be at risk of seeing that severe weather in their location. And now the next story, of course, is that those above average highs that are extending all the way from California to Maine across the northern tier of the country. We have the potential of records through Saturday for major cities along the East Coast, all the way from Virginia into Maine. And we're looking at this warming trend that will have the temperatures in the 80s today, into the 90s by tomorrow, and into the weekend, highs 10 to 20 degrees above average. So it's going to be feeling quite nice. And the great thing is it's low humidity. So it's not that suffocating.
That's the key.
Heat.
That's the key.
Yes,
it's a dry heat, right?
Yes, we love the dry heat.
Exactly. We love that. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, we're learning new details about a former CIA officer arrested after $40 million worth of gold bars were found in his home. But sources have told NBC News about a case that has shocked the intelligence community. Up first, going public, Elon Musk's SpaceX set to begin trading later this month. The details next on what could be the biggest initial public offering in history. We're back with some business news about what is expected to be the biggest stock market debut ever. A filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission says Elon Musk's SpaceX has set a fixed price of $135 a share for its upcoming initial public offering, or IPO. That would value the company at just over $1.7 trillion. It's set to be listed on the NASDAQ on June 12th. Here to discuss this, NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal. So, Allie, walk us through some of the key numbers here and help us understand why it's a fixed price as opposed to a range, which I know is often the case.
Yeah, this is not the traditional way of doing things. Typically, companies, when they go to debut on the public markets, they'll go on something called a roadshow, they'll set a range, and they'll really try to test investor appetite. By setting this fixed price, Elon Musk is basically showing conviction here that the demand will be there. And a lot of this also has to do with just the sheer scale that we're talking about. This is set to be the biggest IPO in history. You're taking a look at some of the numbers there. $135 a share. That values the company at $1.77 trillion. They're planning to sell just over 555 million shares, and their goal is to raise $75 billion. So, I mean, it's really hard to even wrap your mind around some of these figures, but it's truly astonishing.
I'm having flashbacks to like fundraisers when I was in like elementary school, like selling reeds or something like that. Like, hey, I made $20. So anyway, why is he going public, and why now?
Look, it's very, expensive to fund these AI initiatives. And for a company like SpaceX, it's multi-layered, right? They have rocket ships. They want to expand their Starlink satellite network. They want to build AI data centers in space. And eventually, they want to send humans to Mars. None of that is cheap. That requires a lot of capital. And also, the appetite right now is there. People are really excited about AI and what it could bring in the future. So I think for a lot of these companies that are choosing to go this route, they're thinking, all right, now is the time to get into the public markets and really acquire those funds so that we could build out these ambitions.
Clearly, SpaceX is going to be a major player in the stock market. What could it mean for just the everyday person with their investment portfolios or even just their 401ks? Where could we see this play out?
Yeah, well, look, SpaceX is not the only company going public. We have Anthropic. That's the maker of the Claude chatbot. That's set to go public very soon. Also, OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT, expected to go public this year. And these are all companies that are worth near $1 trillion. They could possibly be worth more once they officially debut. And that's going to inject a lot of liquidity into the system at a time where over the past few years, we didn't see a lot of IPOs in the markets. And then the stock market right now is at record highs. A lot of that is due to this excitement around artificial intelligence. So the expectation is that once we have these debuts, that's going to push the market even higher. Of course, there is a risk, though, that we're in bubble territory, that these valuations can't be justified. And ultimately, these companies are going to have to answer to investors and show that the growth and the profits are there to justify these high costs. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm very curious to see how these stocks trade once they open.
It's going to be an interesting next few weeks.
Yeah,
All right, Allie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Coming up, federal judges are speaking out about the rising threats they're receiving over their court rulings. We come back why they're worried that confidence is being lost in the judicial system. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. Some federal judges are speaking out against the attacks and vitriol that they're facing all across the country, and they're placing the blame on elected officials. NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach spoke to two federal judges as part of our Common Ground series, which seeks to bring folks from opposite sides of the political spectrum together for conversations about issues impacting all of us. Now, one is Esther Salas, whose son was shot and killed after a disgruntled lawyer rang the doorbell of their New Jersey home back in 2020. The other is retired Judge John Jones. He faced decades worth of threats for decisions he made while he was on the bench. Gary joins us now with more on this. So, Gary, what do these judges have to say about the threats they're facing, and what, if anything, can be done about it?
Hey there, Joe. Yeah, Judge Salas was appointed by President Obama and is still on the bench there in New Jersey. Judge Jones was appointed by George W. Bush and is now the president of Dickinson College. So they both have very different backgrounds and upbringings, but the two came together in this moment because they told me they just couldn't stay silent any longer. We began our conversation speaking about a day Judge Salas will never forget, July 19th, 2020, when her son was shot and killed. With what you've been through, how do you keep going? How do you put on the robe every day and walk into that courthouse in Newark and do your job?
Because when someone sacrifices their life for you, you don't squander yours. My son's ultimate act of love was taking that bullet. And I say that sometimes and I can't help but get misty-eyed, right? But when someone gives you a gift like life, you don't squander it.
You know, in the current climate, it's one thing to have members of the public who sort of cleave to a particular political philosophy complain about judges and their decisions and vilify judges. Judges have been criticized since the beginning of the republic. But it's another thing, again, to issue what I think is a dog whistle to that very small portion, but perhaps powerful portion of the electorate that are unbalanced, that'll take up arms and hurt or kill somebody because they think in their twisted minds that they're doing the work of a benefactor or vindicating, you know, some belief that they have.
What's the goal? Well, I'll tell you there are two from my perspective. The first goal is they want to erode the public's confidence in the justice system. When you say something, Gary, is broken over and over and over again, and it's not. You know, we're here to tell you it's not. Right? We can look at opinions. We can look at jury verdicts that I presided over. Juries get it right. We have, in my opinion, the best legal system in the world. And I'm biased, but I believe it, right? But when you say it's broken, when you say that we're corrupt, when you say that we're rogue, when you say that we're monsters, when you say that we're engaging in legal insurrectionists, that we're legal insurrectionists, when you say all that, you are doing that for one reason, and that is to erode the public's confidence.
So where do we go from here? Both judges stressed the need for conversation. Judge Salas said they believe it starts at the kitchen table with family members of different generations talking to each other and having these sometimes hard conversations. Judge Jones urged a national conversation and civility before anyone else is hurt or killed. Now, we spoke for about 45 minutes there about all of this. For more of our conversation, visit NBCnews.com/common ground.
Yeah,
Joe?
Definitely check that out. Your conversation could be a starting point for so many to have that conversation. Gary, thank you so much. Last month, there was shock when a former senior-ranking CIA officer was arrested after officials say they discovered gold bars worth $40 million at his home. Now, NBC News has some exclusive reporting about the mysterious career of David Rush. According to 3 former U.S. officials with knowledge of his involvement, Rush served as a liaison to the Pentagon for a sensitive nuclear submarine program. He was brought on at the request of the number 2 official at the Defense Department. Rush has still not entered a plea after FBI agents made the discovery at his home, and the CIA has declined to comment on Rush's alleged role. Let's bring in NBC News national security reporter Gordon Lubold for more on this. Gordon, good to have you with us. First, tell us what you managed to find out about Rush's career and his involvement in that maritime program.
Yeah, so what we learned over the last several days was that David Rush had been essentially picked by the Pentagon's number 2, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Steve Feinberg, to serve as a liaison for the Pentagon from the CIA on maritime programs. That includes very sensitive and highly classified programs to do with submarines and their operations and their construction.
So court documents show Rush is also accused of lying about his work experience and his education. His arrest even raised some red flags within Congress. What are the biggest concerns for lawmakers and federal officials through all of this?
Right. So this has so rattled members of Congress on both sides just by the sheer kind of novelty of this story with the gold bars and all the rest of it. I think the concern is that here's a CIA officer who served in the agency for many years and apparently sidestepped, or the vetting process didn't seem to work quite right. And now you've got somebody who for whom there's a lot of questions, around whom there's a lot of questions, and serving in one of the most sensitive agencies, certainly, and in a sensitive job with the Pentagon.
Right now, Rush is in jail pending a court hearing scheduled for tomorrow. Remind us just what he's actually charged with here. If he is convicting, what could the sentencing look like?
Right. All this, all these questions surrounding David Rush are different from some of the questions, for which he was charged. He is charged with falsifying documents relating to his pay, unrelated to the gold bar, the gold bars that were found in his home in this review. The charges are really specific to the falsifying of the documents just to falsify pay records. Then they started to find some other things. I think it's too soon to know what the charges could look like. I mean, what the sentencing could look like. He appears in court tomorrow. But there are some very serious things, and I think that more charges could be brought once they kind of do a full review of what this guy's role was and what he did or what he didn't do.
All right, Gordon, thank you. And thank you to our team for your reporting on this one. Appreciate it. Coming up, it has been 2 decades since the hit show Friday Night Lights premiered on NBC. Now the cast is reuniting. So up next, we're going to catch up with the show's stars, including Kyle Chandler and Connie Britton. We'll tell you that with clear eyes and full hearts, you just can't lose. Stay with us. We are back with a very special reunion in honor of NBC's 100th anniversary. Friday Night Lights, the beloved show about community, family, and football, is celebrating 20 years since it premiered on NBC. NBC News Now anchor Gotti Schwartz recently caught up with some of our favorite Dillon Panthers to talk about the show's lasting legacy. Gotti, my favorite TV show of all time, bar none. I'm very happy you got to take part in this. What an amazing reunion.
I mean, as you know, then it's a show about football that is about way more than football. As anybody that watches the show has to explain over and over and over again, the cast once again huddling together to prove, Joe, that yes, Texas is forever.
You better get your head in the game.
It's been 20 years since we first saw the cast of Friday Night Lights take the field.
I think that everybody loves football.
Now, along with showrunner Jason Katims, the show's stars, including Kyle Chandler and Connie Britton, are back for a high school reunion of sorts.
What's that like?
Kind of miserable right now, sitting next to her.
It's a true family reunion.
They all sat down with us during the ATX TV Festival last week in Austin, Texas, where the show was honored for its enduring legacy that seems to live on through a simple phrase.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
What does clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose mean to you, Coach?
It means be smart, keep your eyes open, keep your heart open, and you can't lose.
He didn't write his own lines. You see that?
I thought that was a pretty good answer.
The series really centered around the marriage of Coach Eric Taylor and his better half, school counselor Tammy.
Contrary to popular opinion, I'm very good communicating with women folk.
Sweetheart, that is ridiculous. We agreed right at the outset. We're like, no matter what, we can't let them make either one of us have an affair. And we wanted it to be about.
And we tried.
They really tried. We pushed right back on it. We wanted it to be about partnership and collaboration and making mistakes, but always going back to each other.
Amy Teagarden played their daughter.
Watching the two of them work together and like really, I don't know, they had this like united front, like a solid actual relationship, and it was really beautiful to watch.
Fans fell in love with the show's authenticity and ability to tackle topics beyond the gridiron.
That's one of the things that really separated, your show from so many others.
Yeah, we never built a set. We'd have camera operators capturing the whole scene at once. So it really, I think, afforded the actors the ability to be in the moment.
That's the brilliance of our writers, is that no subject was off limits for them to explore. They took every situation and presented it, and then allowed characters to fumble their way through difficult situations consistently.
We all were given such a sense of ownership of the show. We all felt this sense like this character is ours, and it is a privilege for us to be able to create it. But we didn't just feel that way. Everybody felt like they were part of something that they believed in.
It was one organism from the very bottom of the call list to the very top of the call list. It was one organism that worked together. It was a magical as they say, lightning in the bottle.
It also launched the careers of young stars like Taylor Kitsch, Minka Kelly, Michael B. Jordan, and Jesse Plemons.
In my life and career, there's like a before Friday Night Lights and an after. I'd always loved acting, but it was like walking into a completely different realm. It completely changed what I thought was possible about acting, and I think it's kind of something I've been chasing ever since.
Still, amid modest ratings in the first 2 seasons, the lights were almost turned off on FNL.
I know some of the fans have played a big role in some campaigns.
Let's keep the lights on. They sent eco-friendly light bulbs and
footballs to the studio.
And footballs to the studio.
The fans are the reason that we're here. And honestly, and the fact that we still keep getting fans who are seeing it for the first time, it feels like it's never stopped.
And now, even after all these years, the big football family's bond lives on.
It's been a huge blessing. You know, there's some jobs that you show up and do the job, and then there's some jobs you show up and it's a family. And this, to me, has been like one of the best families that I've ever had in TV.
It's just such an honor that I got to be Grandma Saracen, because it was just the role of a lifetime for me. I don't know what to say except you all. I really love you, and I think I don't feel weird about seeing you all because it's like I've just been with you. I don't know what I'd do without you. I don't know.
I know you guys have said this a million times, but Coach, if you don't mind, can you cue us up with just the first 2?
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Joe, so good news, there is a reboot in development. Bad news, whether we know if the original cast is going to be a part of it, that is still a very big question mark. They were extremely tight-lipped, but there is a documentary about Friday Night Lights that is also in the works, so definitely a fix. And Joe, next time you're in town, this is signed by the Jason Street. Texas forever, so we'll have to throw the ball around next time you're on the lot.
No one wants me to throw a ball anytime. Football anywhere, anytime. You'll lose the football into the street. I love to hear there's a reboot. It always scares me when something you love so much does get a reboot, but if it's in their hands, and I have full trust that we're going to be okay, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what they say, clear eyes, full hearts. You can't lose on a reboot.
There you go.
Crossed,
all right, Gotti, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, coming up, I'm going to be talking to the man behind one of the most beloved food shows of recent years, Netflix's Chef's Table. He's going to be telling us why he's bringing the show to life with a special in-person event. That's next. Finally this hour, it is a hit Netflix show and soon a real-life culinary experience. The Emmy award-winning series Chef's Table introduces us to some of the world's top chefs who are redefining the fine dining experience. Now, for the first time, the show is hosting a food festival this summer with a team of more than 70 culinary all-stars set to take part. Joining me now is the show's creator, David Gelb. Good to have you with us. 70. Wow, that is quite an impressive collection of chefs you're going to have there.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I think that it is probably the greatest gathering of the best living chefs in the world, all coming to Park City this summer for this amazing food festival.
So let's talk here, because the Chef's Table, you've had, 7 volumes of it. The show has sparked a lot of spin-offs. What is it that you think makes the show so special, and how does that tie in with this event that you're doing in Utah?
Well, I think that what makes Chef's Table unique is that we don't just show how chefs cook, we show why. It's an emotional journey through the life of a chef, because a great chef tells a story with their cuisine. And so we've been making this show. People have been seeing the food, they've been hearing the stories, but they've never really been able to taste it in such a tangible way. So with Chef's Table Festival, people who love the show will be able to actually live the Chef's Table experience through kind of curated events, intimate dinners, all kinds of classes, and like excursions into the mountains of Park City, around Park City and all of that.
There's plenty to do there.
Yeah.
Sundance paved the way for so many things there. For these shows are so wildly popular. Even if people aren't necessarily making the meals at home, I mean, what do you find about the fans who watch it? What is it they're getting out of it? What is it they hope to get if they are cooking the meals, or if they aren't, they just are looking for something else?
I think that people love to watch people with passion.
Okay.
any chef that cares about what they're doing, they have a story to tell, whether it's like when they first had their first thing and something was delicious when they were a kid, what made them into that kind of superhero kind of chef, and the trials and tribulations along the way. It's just really compelling. Plus, we do a very kind of special type of visual storytelling. The way that we shoot the food, everything we do is extremely cinematic.
Mm-hmm. Talk about that. I mean, how that idea came about. How hard is it to create these cinematic images of something that on the surface seems like just what we do every day in our kitchen preparing food, and you make it so beautiful?
Well, first, the chefs are making food that is absolutely stunning. So
yeah.
We're choosing chefs that make beautiful food. And then we want to make the show that we want to watch. Just like we want to make a festival that we would want to go to. Everything is based kind of on our own taste. I love watching kind of beautiful films. You know, I thought about, you know, how do we make it really look like a movie? And so we bring in the types of cinematography that is not normally on a food show.
When you're watching a show like this, you might be watching it by yourself or maybe with one other loved one, but now you get to go to a festival like this. There's a shared experience going on here that takes it to a different level, isn't there?
Absolutely. So, you know, this summer, August 13th to the 16th in Park City, Utah, Chef's Table Festival, thousands of fans will come together and be able to experience the food of these 70 chefs, all types of classes and things like that. But the idea is that food lovers come together. Like, why do we go out to eat? We kind of gather around the hearth or the kitchen. We tell stories, and we share experiences together. And I think that's what makes this so special.
What is it when you're watching a cooking show, what is it you're looking for? What are some of the feelings you hope to get from these shows?
I think for me, it's character.
Yeah.
You know, I want to eat food from somebody that really, really cares about what they're doing. They've learned it, they've loved it, they cook with passion and with love, and that's kind of the thing that we're doing with the chefs that are coming. Like, some of the favorites from the show are going to be there at the festival: Nancy Silverton, Massimo Bottura, Virgilio Martinez, Francis Mallman, who's known for making these beautiful kind of outdoor fires, and you'll actually be able to go and experience it. So I think it's being able to be part of a moment with other people, with a great chef who is a great storyteller.
How good are you then at trying to replicate anything that you see on television and make it for yourself?
Oh my God. I mean, I try. I think a lot of people watching this show try.
Yeah.
And I'm an avid reader of cookbooks, and I really enjoy cooking for friends and family. But that's really the thing. You know, however good it turns out, if you're cooking with love, people appreciate it.
So a lot of people might be wondering, and I don't know what you can say, if there's going to be more Chef's Table in the future. When people ask that, what do you tell them?
I tell them, thank you. No, I tell them, no, we're really excited about the future of Chef's Table. And, we have a podcast, Chef's Table Talks, wherever you can listen to podcasts or watch podcasts. We're telling the stories of great chefs, interviews with the best chefs in the world. And we'll also be having live podcast tapings and panel discussions with chefs at the festival. And the tickets are at festival.chefstable.com.
All the senses will be taken care of.
Exactly. For the first time, people can actually smell and taste the food that they've loved to watch on the show.
David Gelb, thank you so much. Again, the Chef's Table Festival taking place Park City, Utah, August 13th to the 16th for a one-of-a-kind culinary celebration. For more information, again, festival.chefstable.com. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but don't go anywhere. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.